necessarily going to be the biggest of deals.
I think it's pretty inconvenient though for Maj0r, because eventually Polt is going to fly over his command center. He's going to be able to stabilize on 3 bases.
Oh, he's sniping the medivacs in front of the lockdown with the Vikings. Like he had 2 volleys and then came back. Didn't take any damage. Really nicely done here. Very high level TVT so far. A lot of small, details in the execution from both.
I'm a little bit surprised that Polt just used the energy on his Raven like that, because I kind of feel now he gives up on this contain. So maybe you were right, mate. Maybe Polt just didn't really want to put too much into it. Now this Raven is actually completely out of energy, and these Vikings might just be able to pick it off. That is very nice. That is such an expensive loss for Polt, and this is going very well for Maj0r all of a sudden.
Both players adding on a lot of production, actually. I think they're both going up to 5 barracks here, with a 3rd command center each. A little bit of a later on here for Polt. So Maj0r, macro-wise, still doing a fantastic job. Supply-wise, this is so even. This is dead even.
I think it's going to be very difficult for Maj0r to take this base right now. Once again, flies it over to how it's the
yes.
middle.
2 medivacs on the bottom left-hand side. Like, it's going to be time soon for the, these drops.
Oh, those SCVs were misrallied, so Maj0r's going to end up losing 4 or 5. Well, actually, just ends up losing 2. Some of these tanks decide not to shoot at them anymore. There we do have that drop, and there's also, I believe, no, never mind.
Yeah, that actually can do a lot of damage, that double drop on the bottom left-hand side, if Maj0r was to go for it in the natural.
But at the same time, Polt is unloading a lot of units into the main base. Tim did finish up, or Combat Shield, I believe. But a lot of those tanks on the low ground for Polt, like just demolishing all of those Marines in the main base of Maj0r. Maj0r really has to do something with all those forces he has on the south side of the map, Todd.
Yeah, he's gonna go for a snipe on the 3rd base here, possibly. Polt's trying to land. The misclick again.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't land. I must have
he's gonna
misclicked.
get that.
Yeah, I think he will.
Deal.
These Marines have a lot of DPS. They, of course, have +1 attack already as well. This is a great snipe, but let's not forget that Maj0r is losing a lot of SCVs on the other side of the map as well. If I was him, I would bring these Marines back home.
Oh my God.
If he takes out all of these tanks, though, I don't like where he's unloading those Marines. I would love to see it more on top of the... I guess he couldn't.
Polt wasn't paying attention on his army here, so he lost a lot instantly. But across the map, Maj0r wasn't paying attention to his army, so he lost everything that was there and got cleaned up. So now we find ourselves in a situation where Polt is 40 supply ahead. But he lost his 3rd CC. That's the big problem here for him, but I don't think he minds. I mean, I trade not having a 3rd base against a 40 supply lead at any time.
Yeah, but I mean, he's slightly ahead, I believe, when it comes to upgrades. His +2 attack is already on the way, and the armory is not even done yet for Maj0r. Maj0r also lost 10 SCVs, so even when he is in orbital ahead, losing all his SCVs and losing those 16 Marines or so at the bottom side of the map, I think that really hurt Maj0r. That snipe at that orbital was great, but after that, he should have just brought those forces home immediately and tried to clean up the soft contain that Polt had on him in a more efficient manner.
Oh, the medivac. The bomber medivac, man.
Bomber would do that with 8 medivacks. So.
It's still the bomber medivac. If it dies full, it's the bomber medivac.
I do kind of like that Maj0r tried to expand where he went, because that is obviously a very good position for tanks to siege up in any phase in the game. That will always be in range of the infrastructure. But if Maj0r would somehow stabilize at that what normally is supposed to be the 4th base and now would be his 3rd, it's very hard for tanks to ever get in range of that infrastructure. So I do like the idea behind it. Unfortunately, Polt never gave him the chance to truly stabilize on that location.
Yeah, it really seems like it was Polt's plan all along. Just be ahead on the tank count, get that position here. And your opponent's always going to have production facilities here in range for the tanks to do damage. But I guess Maj0r's still trying to find some room here and there to do some damage.
Yeah. Just 8 Marines is not enough. If he has to be careful. That is a bomber medevac. Wow, he actually lives. Definitely not a bomber medevac, Todd.
A tasteless medevac.
Living on the edge.
Oh, he's getting surrounded. Look at this.
Yeah.
It is coming from both sides here for Polt. He knows that this is here for Maj0r. He's going to want to look to clean this up and pull even further ahead in the supply lead.
Yeah, I guess one of the medevacs as well, which was carrying 4 or 5 Marines +2 attack, has finished up right now for Polt. So his Marines are a lot stronger. Maj0r is floating an insane amount of gas, by the way, but just doesn't have any minerals. That's a pretty okay drop, I'd say, on top of the tanks. He's able to pretty much reset the tank count, but that doesn't change the fact that army supply, it's 103 for Polt and only 63 for Maj0r.
It's 5 for 5 tanks, but Marine-wise, 64 to 28. Like, how do you win that fight? You need like the biggest tank shots ever and the opponent to attack into like a cliff, a ramp.
And he doesn't exactly have an upgrade advantage either, as Polt is the one with the upgrade advantage. I mean, if Maj0r is able to stabilize on 3 bases, then he can still try to sing this out slowly but steady, try to get some good trades and just let his supply go up.
Yeah, that small medivac drop at bottom, gonna do some damage, but I mean, he's gonna get clean momentarily, I think.
He's buying time for himself, though. I mean, obviously, if he can get being closer to max out, that will always be good for Maj0r, because in a certain time, you know, Polt can't get any further ahead than he is, so then Maj0r will be able to start catching up. But Polt already with his +3 on the way.
When Polt is this far ahead in supply too, what we've seen a lot from him. Oh, the minivacs! What? Okay, these were bomber minivacs. Okay. And they, I can't believe he boosted on top of that. I don't think he realized that the Polt's army was there, and Maj0r flies the last of his remaining forces into some very angry Marines.
Yeah, we saw him being active with a drop on the south side of the map. I think he was paying attention to that, trying to pick off as many SCVs as possible. But instead, like you mentioned, he picked up a lot of forces into Medivacs on the north side of the map and flew them over Polt's Marines. Well, if those Medivacs die, he was already down 40-50 army supply. After that, well, it wasn't really an engagement, more like that massacre.
Yeah.
It would have been 65 to 70 army supply down, and Maj0r is like, all right, this is not going to happen anymore.
It was a bit weird how Polt had like 8 tanks or something back at home, just like not really doing anything. I think if the game had dragged on for a little bit longer, he probably would have done what he does a lot, like in general, when he has, you know, a bigger army and sometimes even against Protoss, and attack the third base and drop the main at the same time just to exploit his supply lead, rather than attack with everything into siege tanks, which he probably still would have won if he had done that, just because he had so much more.
Well, Polt takes a 1-0 lead in this series. We're going to head over to a very small commercial break, and after that, we'll be right back with game number 2 between Maj0r and Polt. Welcome back, everybody, to WCS Premier League Group F. We are in our lower bracket match. Polt is currently up 1-0 against Maj0r. Do you think Maj0r is going to bring it back, or we will see our reigning champ live to fight another day?
I hope he will, to at least to a game 3. I like to see longer series. I like to see good games. And this was a very well conducted one here from Polt. It really felt like the entire time, basically, no matter how the start went, he was just planning on basically getting a lot of tanks and then just sieging from that position around the middle of the map. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think it very early on, like in TVT, especially in mirror matchups, like you as a pro player notice as well that the very first engagement in the game often really sets the pace for the rest of the game. And I think Maj0r opening up with more Hellions and more Reapers obviously wanted to get some sort of economic damage done, but instead he ran up the ramp where he didn't expect Polt's forces to be. And that's just a tiny thing, right? And Hellion in the start of the game, that can't possibly mean that much, right? Well, it kind of changes the entire way that Maj0r wanted to play that, because suddenly he realized that his aggression is not going to be as powerful as it could have been. There was, of course, that Banshee getting a couple of SCVs here and there. I must say, I was still really surprised to see the way that Polt used his Raven, that he just dropped those auto turrets and ended up losing the Raven. Yeah. But other than that, Polt played a very good game. Game number 2 is going to be played on Vani, and Juanito, also known as Maj0r, is going to have to bring it back if he wants to still advance. The winner of this series will move on to the deciders match, where they will face either Elaser or TLO, as that is going to be the winners match of Group F that will be happening after this.
And here we go. We're on Vani Research Station here for map number 1. And starting in the bottom side of the map, it is playing as the Red Terran, playing for Team Cooler Master Storm. It is Polt.
A lot of fan support for Polt as well in the house. I mean, they're not as loud as when Dario is playing, but I can still hear them from here. And there's quite a bit of distance, actually, between the room that we are and where the fans are. Over here on the top side of Vani Research Station, one of the last representatives of the North American region, it is Maj0r.
In the previous game, if you were Maj0r and like you're trying to find your mistakes, surely like it's not easy to clearly see where it was. Like personally, like I don't know, I'm not a Terran player, but I'm not sure what exactly went wrong and like when it really started to go wrong. What do you think?
I think it was just a little reckless all around. Like I wouldn't say careless, because obviously I'm sure he was trying, but like a couple times he just made a move command. A couple times, like even at the end of the game, when the game ended, just picking up all your units and flying over Marines. Like a few times, a matter of fact, did survive with a few HP, but that just happened a few too many times. I think there were a few missed opportunities for him.
He didn't make enough tanks, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was difficult. He did have a lot of gas, but he was always under a lot of pressure. And I think if the opening would have gone slightly better for him, if he was actually able to put the pressure on Polt that he wanted to put, then it would have been harder for Polt to start moving out as quickly as he did. And I think we could have been looking at a completely different game, because obviously Maj0r kind of gave up map control when his stim was going to be so much later, and he was going to be down in tank numbers.
Our favorite StarCraft philosopher, Nathanias, once emphasized very well how important the tank count is in a matchup.
The quote that we will never forget. That was Maj0r against Supernova, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
In the good old show matches.
And back then already Maj0r was very far behind on the tank count. Happened again in the previous game, gonna have to be careful.
Polt's opening up with a Reaper over here, while Maj0r once more went for a gas first. Factory going down at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. It's pretty much the quickest factory you can get without completely wrecking your own economy. Yeah. Curious to see what's going to be. What I'm kind of expecting is a few Marines and a Hellion, and a matter of fact, I think anything else. Well, he's actually opening up with a he's following it up with a Reaper. So maybe it's a similar opening, and maybe once more it's the Reaper into Hellion.
Both players scouting for proxies here, by the way. In the previous game, it was just Maj0r. It's funny, every time I see like, a non-Korean player scouting for proxies against the Korean player, I feel like it should be the opposite.
You remember Bling against SOS from Gfinity?
Yeah, yeah.
The greatest series ever played. PvP of the year.
The thing is, on this map, it's like proxy heaven, right? Like Vani is, I think, the best map to proxy. There's just so many locations. You need to check for all of them. It's really annoying. Then you lose minerals if you do. But if you don't, and then you get proxy, then you're in trouble. So both players at least gave each other respect here and went for a good scout.
The Reapers had a little meet and greet in the middle of the map as well, fired at each other a couple of times, and then just decided to go home, like in the good old days in the Wild Wild West. You meet someone, you have a shoot-off, and you're like, all right, it was nice meeting you, sir. Safe trip home. So both players know, of course, from each other there is a Reaper. Maj0r can't possibly know yet about the follow-up. He doesn't know that there is a command center going down as well. But I mean, I like it a lot that Polt has 3 depots over there on the top of his ramp. It's going to make it very hard for Maj0r to be very effective with these Hellions unless Polt messes up. But like Polt having high ground advantage over here, if his Reapers are in a good position, he should. Oh, okay, well.
And Maj0r needs to do damage here. He's invested a lot into this. The second command center here of Polt is about to finish, whereas Maj0r's just started only. So he's gonna have to at least, I guess, kill a few units here and there, maybe do some damage.
That's very risky for Polt. Polt actually taking a lot of damage on one of these Reapers. Now there are 2 Hellions over here for Maj0r. And let's not forget, Polt doesn't have a whole lot in production. There are 2 Hellions on the way. Yep, that's very nice. This depot is probably going to fall, and quite a few SCVs will fall. Oh, he shot at the rocks there. Unfortunate for Maj0r. Maj0r needs to do more, though. 2 Hellions, that is nice and all, but I feel like he needs more.
Yeah, double Hellion is not going to come out here for Polt. Maj0r pulls back. He waits for one more. I think he's going to get right back in there. Try to get a snipe on that depot. There's a single SCV. Oh, but he loses a lot of units before finally opening the door.
Yeah, I think those were very good shots over there for Polt. Even though there's slightly more HP, I believe, on one of these Hellions. No, actually, it doesn't really matter. And there are 2 more Hellions about to pop. I think that was a pretty good hold for Polt.
Yeah.
Ends up losing a depot, losing 3 SCVs. But like you mentioned, Tal, that command center for Maj0r is so much later. He definitely hoped to do way more damage here than he did.
Well, behind this, though, Maj0r's feeling pretty confident to go for a Widow Mine drop. And being a Protoss player myself, I can tell you these things can do a lot of damage. The thing is he going to have enough back at home?
They're actually a lot less effective against SCV, though. It was really funny. I've been playing a little bit of Terran lately myself on the ladder. And there was a dude who flew a couple of Widow Mines into my middle line. I was like, because, you know, you're a Protoss player, and then suddenly like 3 SCVs died. I was like, ha 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 ha. These SCVs don't have shields, young man. So it's actually not that scary.
The Widow Mine. I think he saw it. Yeah, turrets for Polt, being a little bit paranoid here. I guess since he had no vision whatsoever in a major space, he didn't know whether there's going to be a Banshee or not.
Yeah,
so how many kills do you think this drop is going to get with the Widow Mine and 4 Marines?
I can't possibly know that, Johan.
Well, you played some Terran, you said.
All right, 2 SCVs.
Just 2?
Yep.
Okay. The Viking, gonna miss it. Just 2? Still?
Just 2. I'm gonna go with 2.
Oh, he left the Widow Mine there. I guess for the Viking.
Right, that's 1, Johan. Matter of fact, does get picked off, so these...
he's trapped now. You might as well go for it. You don't know.
Yeah, 2.
Detonation.
No, he's gonna get 3. He gets 3rd SCV over here as well. This is actually pretty effective. I'm very surprised that it takes Polt such a long time to react to this.
He was like waiting at the ramp. I think maybe he thought like a drop's gonna happen in the main at the same time, or maybe at the ramp, or maybe out on the map. Took forever.
Ends up losing 3 SCVs. Also lost the missile turret though.
He needs to scan for that. I guess he can just sit there and wait until Maj0r unburrows and move that, because the Widow Mine still.
Yeah, the Widow Mine doesn't really give a whole lot of vision either. Like, it's one of these moments where, you know, we as observers, we can see everything, so we can see there are, you know, he could put tench, or this is not a good moment to unburrow it because there are units nearby, but Maj0r doesn't know that. But he's gonna wait, he's gonna sing it out for a little bit.
And turret is in range to detect it.
Yep. But I mean, Maj0r can see that. There is a Banshee on the way now as well, but fortunately for Polt, he does have Vikings on patrol, and he does have a turret going down once again, as that missile turret will... Actually, wow, he burrowed it out of vision. Cheeky little mine. What a cheeky mine.
Big supply block here for Maj0r, by the way. 70 out of 70.
He's so busy with that Widow Mine, I can't blame him. Like, I would try to make it my mission as well, to keep that mine alive. I mean, he's definitely distracting Polt, because there is nothing in position over here.
He's gonna get some kills.
Yeah, the Banshee has somehow avoided all Vikings that were on patrol. This is not nice. Like, TVT, once again, is all about you being the aggressor. As long as you're the aggressor, things are going well for you, because you got map presence, you're doing stuff on the other side of the map, and we all know that in StarCraft 2, it's very rarely good for you to just defend, unless you're on a truly superior army composition or you have way better upgrades. Just defending is not a place you want to be. Definitely not in a mirror matchup.
Do you think Polt forgot about the Widow Mine?
I don't think he forgot about the Widow Mine. Like,
he didn't.
He's been very focused on that Widow Mine, man.
He was to be moved, man.
That Widow Mine is full of ambition. Like, I think we can see this Widow Mine blossom into something beautiful one day that will burrow and kill a lot of SCVs.
Maj0r's just in a great position.
Yeah,
having the 3rd command center already, whereas Polt only starts his now. This is just...
No, he's been getting a couple of very small but very favorable trades. We know, you know, in mirror matchups, it's hard to make the difference. Especially when you play similar style to your opponent, there is very little wiggle room. There are very few opportunities. But Maj0r is finding those minor opportunities. He's killing a few SCVs here and there. You know, he's picking up a Hellion or two on the map. He's taking away map presence from Polt. I really like the way that Maj0r is playing this, and overall, I definitely think he has created maybe not a significant advantage, but I love his position, and I think almost every Terran lost Maj0r's position right now.
Yeah, surprisingly, Maj0r is not getting a single turret himself. Like, not even one at the natural.
Well, but this is just all these small traits are so good for Maj0r. Like, he's taking the Zelnaga Watchtower again. He saw that army moving out. He knows what he has to worry about. What I do wonder though, Todd, is he going to bring his forces down the ramp, or he's going to let himself once more be contained? Even if it's a soft contain, I think he's going to try to run them down the ramp, and this is going to get very dicey, very quick right now.
And Polt back at home is getting a sensor tower. Actually, this is interesting. He really wants to make sure he's not going to get dropped on his natural, even though he's applying pressure. That's even weirder. Oh no, Maj0r.
Oh, that
still lands the CC. What? Pull back.
Oh my god, Maj0r losing 2 or 3 tanks before the battle even starts. But he does get those Marines very close to the tanks of Polt, but it's not good enough.
Wow.
And suddenly everything swings into Polt's favor. Maj0r not being ready, missing that army, moving via the left side, going via those bushes. The Marine.
That went so bad.
That was awful.
1-1 complete, says Maj0r already lost a lot of his army. Polt's now heading supply. The third orbital is now morphing.
Okay, the only thing that Maj0r can make out of this thought is that Vani is a pretty long map, and most of the forces from Polt are still all the way in the south side. I was kind of thinking about it, my Widowmine as well. The Widowmine has finally died.
It's gone.
Yeah, it will be gone forever. Maybe a frenzy splash damage or something.
Man.
Yes, he is. But I mean, like, this was a massive trade for Polt. This was a trade that Polt really needed as well. There is one more Christopher Columbus over there on the south side. He sees the reinforcements, so Maj0r knows if he wants to sandwich his army, he's gonna have to do it real soon, or he's gonna go for the reinforcements.
Oh, he was trying to catch the reinforcements. I think this is great here.
I mean, he's making this very awkward for Polt. What do you do right now if you're Polt? Do you unseat all of your tanks? Are you gonna bring them back? Will it even be in time? This is awesome for Maj0r. Very well played.
Maj0r even like using the Vikings very nicely on top of the tanks here at the lockdown, sniping one of the medivacs very, very quickly. Yeah,
Polt not having any vision right now of those tanks of Maj0r.
He's not going to flank this from behind. He's moving right across the map here.
Yeah, but his tanks are in range right now, so Maj0r has done this very well. I mean, the start of this fight, when he lost his own tanks, when he lost a few SCVs and Marines, that didn't go well for him. But then he's like, all right, Vani is a very long map. It's a map where it's very difficult to reinforce. You have these units here, yeah, that's fine. But that's a problem for you as well, because how are you going to protect them? How will
here
you
we
keep
go,
them
Maj0r's
alive?
going to break out. Moves out with little Marines teams right in there. He's going to clean this up, and he's now ahead in supply. And with earlier upgrades, if he can somewhat fight, obviously not attack into, you know, like a lot of tanks, but when he's 2-2 against 1-1, he's going to do great, but he's going to fight before that.
Yeah, I don't really like this fight that much, because most of the units were not participating in the battle at first, and I feel that Polt is getting a much better trade over here. Maj0r might win in the end, but I think it's safe to say, look at the army supply right now, it's suddenly a lot closer. Maj0r was 20-30 supply ahead. He started that battle with only 1/3 of his Marine army over there, and that's why he lost a few more units than he was supposed to.
Oh, the 2 Vikings against the 2 Vikings, a classic matchup here.
All right, I'll take it away.
The 2 Vikings are going to win.
No, actually, it's going to be a double KO on both sides.
Oh!
And that Marine is just standing there. He's like, man, fireworks have really improved in this day and age. Like,
how about helping Marine? I think he's going to get executed for his mutiny.
Yeah, it is reflected. You know, he was not accepted. He wanted to join the Red Army. It's like, no, sir, you're not welcome. Once a Blue Marine, always a Blue Marine. As Maj0r has slowly was steady taking more control of the south side of this map over here. Like, it's hard for Maj0r to really push the issue, right? He does have that upgrade advantage right now. Ooh, throws down a scan, sees that Polt has a lot of...
Polt went into double factory earlier than Maj0r, but he's only 1 tank ahead. Maj0r is about to have his own second factory here.
I mean, how many missile turrets do we have in the natural over there in Vani? Well, we have a lot of Marines as well. Like, it is very, like, Vani is a great map to drop, but when your opponent is this ready for it, when you're talking about a 155 supply army, I think it's going to be very hard for Maj0r to find a window of opportunity to fight with that upgrade advantage that he has.
At this point, Polt is looking for some room here to go around and do some kind of counterattack, but...
I think it's a wise decision of Maj0r. Sorry, Todd, but I think it's a wise decision to retreat over there. Like, I think he was hoping to find a window, was hoping to find an opportunity, but Polt had such a good setup, and I think it's very smart for Maj0r to say, like, all right, You know, I know I have better upgrades, I have slightly more units, but if I fly into missile turrets or Marines right now, I'm just going to trade very poorly. I don't want to do that.
Maj0r doesn't seem to mind going into a longer game here against Polt, or I guess he didn't really have a choice. It was either that or attacking into the tanks. But now Polt's moving out. Maj0r sees that this could be happening. He scans, sees the army out of position. He's going to get that command center very quickly. Can he repair on time? Yes.
I mean, there are so many units coming in from all angles right now. The flank is great, but Maj0r has reinforcements streaming across the map as well. Not too many SCVs have died. I think so far Polt is actually doing a phenomenal job in defending this, as he had more units there at first than Maj0r, and he will be able to push Maj0r
back. He might go for a counter-attack. He has so many tanks. He has 9 tanks against 0. Maj0r has 0 tanks right now.
I'm not actually. I think that's the only thing. I think the only thing that Maj0r can maybe do is try to force a fight as far away from his base as possible with the Marines, like I think he's trying to do right now. But even when it comes to the Marine numbers, Polt is not in a bad position at all. Maj0r fighting without his medevacs over there.
He needs to pull the boys, man. It's not gonna work, but he needs to pull them anyway.
Against 2 Marines, do you know what happens to the boys, Todd? The boys won't stay in town for a long time. I can guarantee you that.
2 tanks here up for Maj0r, but I think Polt's just gonna, he could literally just attack right through there. And he just crush it, and he's gonna do just that.
I feel like he's always fighting with more medevacs as well. There's way more healing power in the army of Polt. Polt taking a 50 supply lead in a game where I felt Maj0r was dictating the pace of the game, was looking for openings, created a small advantage for himself, picks up that orbital as well, and that's almost like the icing on the cake already for Polt. Right now 70 supply ahead, a base ahead, as our reigning champion of WCS Premier League will live for now. Going up against a nemesis is maybe a big word, but a player that he has struggled with a lot in the past, Maj0r, but not today, is what our Captain America said as he takes him out 2-0.
Apollo, you silly man.
He's a crazy fan in the audience, though. Oh, well.
They're good friends, though. Like you can see, Polt coming over, talking casually. Well, I just made more tanks, bro. what you gonna do?
I think Maj0r played very well, especially I think in game number 2. It's so hard in a mirror matchup, you know, to truly attack and to be like, all right, I know I'm a little bit ahead. How am I going to capitalize on this minor advantage that I've built up for myself? And Maj0r thought, you know, like by kind of rotating around and trying to go for that orbital over there, that he was going to be able to trade well. But in the end, he didn't get the orbital and he lost a lot of his tanks. His reinforcements were a little bit late to the party, and Polt was able to fight with even upgrades. And that was basically the key fight that dictated, you know, the outcome of that game, because Maj0r played a very solid TVT there, other than the biggest battle in the game.
I really thought that how ahead he was going to be able to make something happen, you know, drop while sieging the third base, but Polt's just way too solid to let that happen. And in the end, maybe an overeager attack too early by Maj0r got punished with the counter attack. But man, that tank counts. So insane. Every time somebody makes small tanks, they win.
I mean, it's so difficult, though. Like, how do you drop a guy that has Marines in his natural, that has a missile turret, that has sensor tower, that has all of his infrastructure and a few units in the main, and then also has, like, tank siege stop on the low ground? That is just very difficult. And I don't think Maj0r necessarily wanted to make that big fight happen when it actually happened. But I think it was more like, hey, you know, we're both kind of doing a ring around the rosy over here in the middle of the map. We're just dancing. Maybe if I siege up right now, it will be good. But his tanks were a little bit too exposed. There were too many Marines working on that orbital and then not getting it. Well, it really backfired.
Of course, it was difficult, man. This is StarCraft.
It's always
a difficult game, but not impossible.
Well, our reigning champion is up the desk right now with Apollo to talk about the TVT series he just played. So, Sean, take it away.
Thank you very much, Todd and Rotterdam. I'm joined here by the Season 1 champion, Polt. We've got a Korean flag over there for you, Polt. We must be a little bit relieved, obviously, after picking up that victory against Maj0r. But before we talk about Maj0r, I want to take this opportunity to speak about Tilo as well. I mean, we heard Tilo's side of things. Coming into today, Season 1 champion, everyone's expecting you to win the group. You told me, you told us that you're the Season 4 and fourth title, fifth title, Season 2 and Season 3 champion. You lost the first match. What was going through your mind then?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as I interviewed before the match, I told you I prefer to play best of 5 or best of 7 over best of 3. I'm kind of weak in best of 3 because there's not many chances to see how my opponent plays. So I sometimes lose, actually. Well, before the match, when I was coming to Germany, I thought Maj0r would be the biggest threat to me because his TVT is his best matchup, and he's actually so good at that matchup. But other two Zerg players, I thought their ZVT is lower than Maj0r's TVT, so I focused more on TVT. I think that's why this happened. I should haven't underestimated other players. But right now, I've played 3 games against TLO, so I think if I face him again, then I think I have a good chance because I know how he plays. But for Erasure, it's kind of dicey. I don't know.
Dicey. I'm sure Rotterdam is smiling about that back there. Pig, you got a question here for Polt?
Well, I just wanted to say congratulations on that game just there, that 2-0 was very commanding. I wanted to ask your feelings about how you played that series. I got the impression, I'm no TVT expert by any means, but it felt like you were playing a bit more defensive and you were very focused on trying to get to the mid-game and the later stages. Did you feel like if you reached the later stages, you were confident that you could win with better mechanics and higher skill?
No matter who I'm facing up against, I'm sure I'm better at that player in the late game. I think I'm the best in the late game. But for TVT, there's so many aggressive openings, and you can just lose game so easily. So I wanted to go make it longer game, even if I get some disadvantage in like economy or other facility things. And it pretty much worked for me.
All right, so you got another question, or? So just final question then, I'll let you get ready for your last match of the day. So let's just say this was TLO to play in the next match. You know, regardless of the result back there, you play TLO in the next match. This is the match you're most confident in. You could probably tell us you're going to win, right?
Yes.
If it's a laser, this is much more dangerous for you.
But actually, I want to play a laser.
Has that got something to do with these people over here?
Yeah, these people over here. It's really sad.
Here's a question. So how is it playing? You've played in a lot of different countries. You've played against a lot of home favorites. German players in Germany, French players in France, blah, 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 blah. How is it How is it dealing with that, knowing that they're behind the other guy really badly?
Yeah, to be honest, when I had less experience, like in 2012, when I went to outside of Korea, I was not that famous or popular compared to right now. So I was never a fan favorite, so I had a lot of hard times, especially against foreigners. Right now, I thought I'm kind of okay even if I play in Europe, but I think I really want to go back to America.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Polt. Let's take a look at the bracket one more time here before we get ready for the next match. It's going to be the winners' match. It's going to be Poland versus Germany, a laser against TLO. One of these players is guaranteed to play in Toronto, Canada. Which one will it be? The crowd 100% knows who they're cheering for. Who are you cheering for back at home?